Hello, I'm Ruth Pierce. I'm the relationship maximizer, and I help you take all your different relationships to the next level. And that starts with the relationship you have with yourself. And right now, we're finishing up the book, Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It. And this is our sixth and final session. We have several topics, but not very long ones to talk about today. We're going to talk about coasting. And we're going to talk about beliefs. We're going to talk about oxygen, where I want to be in the end. So let's take off and see where this goes. Camille, the author, knew he was coasting, and it showed. When life just works for a while, you get used to it, he says, and you think it'll always stay that way. Isn't that the way we think? You live as if it will last forever. When these things suck, when you're deep in it, it seems like they will suck forever. You cannot imagine a way out. But once you've experienced it and you know it's possible, then you should do everything in your power to keep it that way. It's that good. But pointing fingers back at me when I say this, and you point them at you if it fits you too, we get lazy. As life gets good, then great, we start to coast, don't we? Loving ourselves becomes something I assumed, he said, but didn't work toward it. He actually reached the stage where saying, I love myself, felt strange. He thought he should use a less powerful word, one that felt right. And then I love this statement that he said, but if love isn't right, nothing else will be. Let me say that again. But if love isn't right, nothing else will be. And then we get back to that question that we've had many, many times before this. If I loved myself truly and deeply, what would I do? And there's been different variations of it, but you know what I mean. This question is not a threat. There is no right or wrong answer. It's only an invitation to your truth in this present moment. It is an invitation to your truth in this present moment. For Camille, he would recommit to the practices and lessons learned. Do not allow yourself to coast when things are going great. When you're doing well, you need just as much vigilance. How high can you go? If I do the practices, how high could I go? Could I even handle it? Do I deserve it? These are all good questions you ask yourself. And this is the answer. Yes, you deserve it. Yes, you can handle it. Yes, you can fly. You can fly as high as you possibly can. Then fly even higher. Do not limit yourself. I work with a lot of people and I use the tagline, time to fly relationships. And I like to say that the degree in which you love and value yourself sets the thermostat for how high all your other relationships can go. The degree in which you love and value yourself sets the thermostat for how high all your other relationships can go. So now we're going to go into beliefs, because that ties in so much with all of this. Because do you believe that you deserve it? Do you believe that you can fly higher? And I encourage you to write down your beliefs don't just sit down and try to write them all out at once, because so much of them are subconscious, you don't even know they're there. But as one comes up, write it down. And then ask yourself, is this a belief I want to have in my life? Where did that belief come from? And if I don't want that in my life, you may. And if you do, keep it. But if it's one that is no longer serves you or it limits you, then I would say either modify it or throw it out and write a new belief underneath it that says what you want it to say. Now, this is Camille talking again. A side effect of loving myself fiercely was that it started to dislodge old beliefs that I didn't even know existed. For example, he realized he believed that real growth came through intense, difficult, and challenging situations, and only those. How many of us believe that too? But what we believe is what we seek. It's the filter we view our lives through. Because of his belief, Camille actually threw himself at intense and difficult situations all the time. He grew in those situations, but at what cost? A cost to his body, his health, his relationships. Those are just a few that come to mind. Another example of Camille's beliefs: was he driven to succeed or was he driven not to fail? There's a huge difference, and Camille feels this is why his company never took off the way he knew it should. Do I believe that I can succeed, or am I fighting not to fail? Good question. The good news is that once the spotlight shines from within yourself, there's no going back. The patterns of the mind that held you back fall away on their own. With each insight, there is freedom, a sense of lightness and growth. What we believe shapes ourselves, what we believe about ourselves. It shapes our circumstances. It shapes our relationship with others. And if you are a person of faith, it shapes your relationship with God. Oxygen. That's our next subtopic. And this goes back to the saying that many of us have heard about the airplane. And they always tell you if the oxygen mask fall down, then you put it on yourself before you put it on your companion. And that's what this loving yourself is all about. And so if somebody tells you that you must love others first, and many of us, including myself, were taught that, respectfully disagree and say no. As long as I'm loving myself in an authentic and organic manner, it's going to naturally overflow to others. I don't have to worry about it. And this is Camille talking, and there's some really key statements in here. As he started to love himself, things inside me shifted. Listen to this. Fear strengthens the ego. Love softens it. He became more open and vulnerable. It was now natural to be gentle with others, even when they weren't loving towards me. Fear strengthens the ego. So when I'm afraid, then it's all about me, and that's not the love. That's the fear and the ego talking. And there's a huge difference. Love softens it. And you're more open to other people. Rather than reacting to situations, he found himself choosing how he wanted to be. That's key. We have the opportunity to choose. We have the responsibility to choose our response. And this subtopic is where I want to be, and this is a really short one. Choose the thoughts you desire to focus on and those you do not desire to focus on. It's always your choice. Simply experimenting with what you choose, all through the filter of love, all through the filter of loving yourself. And this is how he ends that first section in the subtopic called End. Rather than try several different things, such as self-help books, seminars, etc., pick one thing that feels true to you and then practice it fiercely. For Kamel, that was loving himself. What matters is the practice, the commitment to being or to living your truth. The results are worth it. So I encourage you to love yourself deeply and truly. This is Ruth Pierce, the Relationship Maximizer, signing on.